The Temple of Edfu is an ancient Egyptian temple located on the west bank of the Nile, in the city of Edfu, that during the Greco-Roman period, was known as Apollonopolis Magna, dedicated to the god of the gods, Horus Apollo. It is the second largest temple in Egypt, after Karnak, and one of the best preserved. The temple, dedicated to the falcon god Horus, was built during the Hellenistic period, between 237 and 57 BC. The inscriptions on its walls provide important information about the language, mythology, and religion during the Greco-Roman world in ancient Egypt. In particular, its inscribed texts on the construction of the temple provide details of its construction, and also preserve information about the mythical interpretation of it. There are also important scenes and inscriptions from the sacred drama that related the ancient conflict between Horus and Seth. The construction of temples by the Ptolemaic kings was part of their religious activity. They lived in Alexandria, a distinct Hellenistic city. They introduced this culture to Egypt, and at the same time, they also made sure to preserve Egyptian culture. This preservation is reflected in the Ptolemaic kings' adoption of the Egyptian custom of marrying their sisters, and ruling jointly with their sister wife. As part of the adoption of Egyptian culture, the Ptolemaic kings built new temples to the Egyptian gods, and restored ancient temples. The temples were built preserving the original Egyptian architectural tradition. They did not choose new sites, but rather continued the ancient tradition of ancient temples, to the same gods who resided at these sites. The Ptolemaic kings also adopted the Egyptian tradition of ancient pharaohs, decorating temples with their figures, and added reliefs to temples, in which they appear as pharaohs in cartoon script, using cartouches to indicate their names. They also use the symbol of the double crown, that symbolizes the union of Upper and Lower Egypt. Edfu was one of several temples built during the Hellenistic period, including Dendera, Esna, Kamombo, and Philae. Its size reflects the relative prosperity of the period. The current temple, which was begun on August 23, 237 BC, was initially composed of a pillared vestibule, two transverse vestibules, and a sanctuary surrounded by chapels. Construction began during the reign of Ptolemy III, and was completed in 57 BC, during the reign of Ptolemy XII. The Temple of Edfu fell into disuse as a religious building, after the Edict of Theodosius I, that banned non-Christian worship within the Roman Empire in 391 AD. As in other places, Many of the carved reliefs of the temple were raised by the Christians who came to dominate Egypt. The blackened ceiling of the hypostyle vestibule, still visible, is believed to be the result of fires set to destroy religious images that were considered pagan at the time. Today, Edfu is almost intact, and is the best preserved example of an ancient Egyptian temple. The archaeological importance and level of preservation of the temple has made it a tourist attraction in Egypt, and a frequent stop for many cruise ships by the Nile.